a hunter in Foster, Rhode Island, cuts through wet pine needles just before sunrise. His beagle veers off trail, barking at a lump of black plastic half buried beneath the duff. State troopers arrive, slice the contractor bag, and recoil as cold air floods out. Inside lies Michele Romano, missing 7 months, curled like evidence no one was meant to find. The map shows a stark fact. This bag sits 22 miles from her last known walk on Warwick's Oakland beach. Someone carried her here, sealed her up, and trusted the forest to keep its silence. If a body can be hidden this easily, what else waits under the needles? You were with us in episode 1, boots practically in the mud, when Paige Fanong's phone and coat turned up neatly on Shanks Island. Yet her body surfaced 2 miles downstream, battered by a flood that should have carried those belongings with her. No foul play, police said, even as the current kept washing their explanation away. You also watched as Denise Leary left her New Haven apartment for a daylight walk and vanished, only to be found 5 months later. Bones hidden in brush search teams had already combed. Again, no signs of homicide, though the distance from her back door to her grave could be measured in paces. 2 strange drownings, 2 backyard burials, and 2 official shrugs. If this is coincidence, it's a cruelly precise one, enough for many of you to type serial killer before the credits even rolled in. Tonight's discovery should settle that debate, but Michele Romano refuses to enter quietly. A mother zipped into a trash bag and hauled 22 miles into the Foster woods is more than just another data point. It's a turning point. Her case is the fulcrum on which this entire investigation may tip. But before we tear open that black plastic for answers, we need to go on a brief tangent. We must step back in time, 3 to 5 years back, to be more precise, into a different patch of forest where a jawless skull waits. Understand that skull, and we may understand how long this shadow has been moving. Early on March 6, 2025, a local construction worker, spending his dawn-off shift hunting for shed deer antlers, parks off Route 3 and slips into a thicket of pitch pines near Plymouth's empty frontage roads. A salt wind rolls in from Cape Cod Bay, carrying the clammy smell of mudflats waking up to spring. He scans the saffron needles for antler tines, but something else catches the beam of his headlamp. A smooth, rounded shape half buried in leaf litter. He kneels, sees mottled ivory, and freezes. The object, smaller than a softball, the lower face sheared away, looks too perfectly curved to be stone. He backs up without touching it and dials 911. Minutes later, Plymouth detectives thread through the trees, photographing the skull in situ before flagging the spot for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab. Technicians confirm it is human. The state medical examiner quickly concurs. By noon, cadaver dogs sweep the grid and uncover additional items. Police won't say whether these are bones, clothing, or tools, only that the cache deepens their interest. A preliminary weathering analysis suggests the skull has lain here 3 to 5 years, its jaw long gone to scavengers or time. The discovery rattles Plymouth, a coastal town better known for pilgrim souvenirs than crime scenes. Families of 2 missing South Shore women, Sandra Crispo and Brittany McCormick, call investigators, praying DNA will end their limbo. Officials do not confirm a link, but they don't rule it out either. For now, the skull remains a silent cipher in the evidence freezer, while the crime analyst trawls 5 years of missing person files. So what do we really have, standing in these pines with nothing but a jawless skull for company? First, nature may have done most of the hiding. No bag, no shallow grave, just leaf litter and time. That could scream coincidence. Someone dies, the forest does the rest. But then look at the setting. Remote coastal woods, The same lonely edge of nowhere that keeps popping up on our map. That starts to feel less random. Timing muddies things even more. Forensics say the bone could have been here 3, maybe 5 years. That pushes the event before our 2025 cluster. Far enough back that it might be an unrelated tragedy. Or the opening chapter of a story we're only now catching up to. And while police won't name the additional items the dogs uncovered, the families of Sandra Crispo and Brittany McCormick already fear the worst, which tells you how easily one silent relic can reopen old wounds.
So my gut so far?
I'm leaning coincidence, but not by much. Because every time I want to file this under nature took its course, those missing person posters tug at the other sleeve, whispering that someone out there might have started writing this pattern years ago. Where do you land? Coincidence or serial killer on the loose? Let us know in the comments down below. If the forest can guard secrets by accident, what does it look like when someone guards them on purpose? When silence isn't natural, but designed. When hiding becomes the point. Michele Romano's life orbits Warwick's waterfront. She's 56, a divorced mother of 2 grown children who still text her sunrise photos from Oakland Beach. For 14 years, she champions adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities at the Trudeau Center and West Bay RI. Colleagues calling her the one who never clocked out on compassion. After leaving the nonprofit world in 2005, Michele pivots to part-time caregiving and pours the rest of her energy into painting seashells in sunset colors, blasting classic rock while she works. Friends say she collected people the way others collect sand dollars. She saw beauty and kept it. Michele treats Warwick's Oakland Beach like a second studio. For years she drives there with a folding chair, a tin of watercolors, and her playlist of Boston and Fleetwood Mac. Locals know the woman who paints seashells better than photographs can. Just after 7 p.m. on August 18, 2024, she texts a friend a sunset photo. Last light, home before dark, promise. Beach regulars remember her alone, brush trailing wet streaks across a clamshell. At 8:32 p.m., her phone drops off the network and her debit card never swipes again. Emily calls, then Luca, then their aunt. Each ring bleeds into voicemail. By 2 a.m., the family files a missing person report. Detectives pound sand at dawn, pulling cell tower pings, interviewing fishermen, sweeping parking lot cameras. They find only tire tracks dissolving under high tide. The days stretch into a winter of waiting. Flyers curl on telephone poles. State police bring drones and scent dogs. The Attorney General quietly adds analysts. Emily checks the case number every morning and still sets her mother's phone on Find My iPhone, watching the dot say no location found. March 26, 2025. 7 months of silence. Shatter. 22 miles west, in the pine scrub of Foster, a shepherd mix named Bandit refuses to leave a shallow depression off Plainfield Pike. His owner follows the growls and sees a contractor-grade trash bag slick with dew. The smell buckles her knees. She dials 911 and drags Bandit backward until cruiser lights strobe the trees. Troopers slice the plastic. Sour air rushes out. Michele lies inside, fully clothed, knees strapped to chest with 2 loops of silver duct tape, as if folded for storage. Floodlights bloom against the pines while crime scene techs plant neon flags beside every boot print. A detective notes the 7-month gap, summer sunset to early spring thaw. Where has she been held in between? Back in Warwick, police seize bags of evidence from Michele's former house and beg drivers with dash cams along Route 14 to check February-March footage. The autopsy lists her death as suspicious, cause pending. Off-record, an investigator says ligature marks aren't ruled out. At a candlelit vigil beneath gull-white canvas, Emily sets her mother's easel under a photograph of painted shells. She tells reporters, voice trembling but fierce, "No accident ends in a trash bag." The quote races across TikTok before the medical examiner files the paperwork. The family publicly rejects any coincidental explanation, yet stops short of endorsing a serial killer theory. They believe one person targeted Michele and they will be caught. Now breathe in the Fosterwoods with me for a second. We've got a mother taped into a contractor bag and hauled 22 miles inland. There's no universe where that feels accidental. Whoever did this planned transport, concealment, and silence. Think about the effort. You need a vehicle, privacy, strength, and the confidence a backcountry road gives you after midnight. That's a level of intent we have not seen with Paige or Denise. Then there's the timeline. Michele vanishes in August, life goes radio silent, and 7 months later her body surfaces right in the middle of our 2025 panic window. That plants her firmly inside the same season of discoveries that already has New England clutching its throat. And don't overlook victim type, another middle-aged woman with coastal habits. She fits the loose silhouette we're starting to see. Here's the twist. Michele's own children don't think she's part of a serial killer's string. They believe one specific person targeted their mom. That skepticism matters. It reminds us not to rush to pattern making just because our nerves are buzzing. But ask yourself, if this is a lone killer, does that really calm the water? Or does it hint at multiple lone killers moving through the same darkness? For me, Michele's case tips the scale hard toward foul play, maybe even toward a repeat offender. Because coincidence can explain one woman in a river, maybe even bones behind a backyard. Coincidence rarely drives 20 miles with duct tape and a trash bag. What do you think? Does Michele push you off the fence? Or do you still see random lightning strikes? River water swallows a photographer and spits her out 2 miles downstream. Phone and coat marooned upstream like taunting breadcrumbs. 5 months later, a daughter searching for peace finds only bone in the backyard she walked past every morning. On the Massachusetts coast, a jawless skull lies where pine needles drift, and names go missing with the tide. And now, a mother sealed in a trash bag, hidden 22 miles inland, knees cinched tight as if whoever folded her meant never to unfold the story. 4 scenes, 1 coastline. Tell me, do you hear scattered thunder, or the measured footsteps of someone who's been here all along? Right now, my scales are tipping in favor of a hunter who learns from every strike than a series of coincidences. But this isn't my verdict, it's ours. Pull up the map, weigh the bodies, ask yourself which pin tips the scale. If you think the pattern is snapping into focus, subscribe and stay with us. If you're still on the fence, subscribe because the next 2 cases may shove you to one side. Drop your theory, hunter or happenstance, in the comments, and turn on notifications. The shadows have more to show, and the next flash of the flashlight might finally catch who, or what, is moving just beyond the tree line. But the map isn't finished yet. Next episode opens on the Springfield bike path where Megan Meredith's murder is no longer rumor, but confirmed homicide. From there we sift through scorched earth in Framingham, where a brush fire reveals bones officials still call unremarkable, and push deeper into the Killingly woods, where an entire skeleton lies nameless under moss. 3 discoveries, 3 explanations that never quite fit the shape of the fear surrounding them. We'll stack every case, river, backyard, skull, trash bag, fire pit, forest floor, into one investigative grid and ask, out loud, how many isolated incidents a coastline can hold before the pattern draws itself. So turn on alerts, keep your theories close, and meet us on that bike path. The ground is about to speak, and when it does, you'll decide whether it's whispering coincidence or confession of a serial killer.